for this afternoon's reflection in introducing and welcoming Elo Okafor, School Prefect.
So there I was, unprotected, unguarded, at the precipice of my downfall, and the sole element liable for my demise, my pride, my ego, my vaulting ambition. Hold on, this is starting to sound too familiar. Good afternoon, Mr. Kidd, Mrs. Bett, Mr. Postma, faculty, friends, and my lovely mother. This may certainly be a red flag, but I discovered a few commonalities between the titular character of a renowned Shakespearean tragedy and myself, minus the divinities from shady witches, forfeiting my soul to the common enemy of man, and having an emasculating, manipulative wife. Macbeth and Lady Macbeth thought that the crown was the one thing they needed when, let's be real, it was couples therapy. But I digress. I'm not here to discuss regicide. Instead, I'd like to remove the barrier I've placed between myself and others. When you feel like you're on top of the world, there aren't many things that can scare you, except falling off. For as long as I can remember, I've been distracted by prestige and the idea that I was unstoppable. No, I don't mean the standard believe in yourself, but the kind that had me thinking, because I want it, I'll have it. And in consequence, I conflated my self-regard to the number and frequency of successes I achieved. In elementary school, success came easy, a crucial step on the path to gifted kid syndrome. But I prefer to call it a strong self-efficacy. However, this ideology has created this double-edged sword in my mind. I believed that I could do everything on my own, that I didn't need anybody else. And if I actually did need the help of others, I just wasn't letting my brain do its thing. In social settings, I wanted to be seen as the friend that had it all together, and God forbid I ever revealed a side of myself that looked bad. Not in terms of camera angles, but regarding external perception. It was the act of vulnerability that I feared the most, as it was the sole factor which would destroy the facade that I naturally presented in front of others. And in an environment like Ridley College, where I went from being the best in my class to one of the best in the class, I was being surrounded by many talented and intelligent students, I placed unnecessary pressure on myself to stay somewhere at the very top. I somewhat had this irrational belief that I was constantly being compared to others. If I got a grade that was lower than usual, I made sure to hide that number like my life depended on it, swearing that the day that I'd let others catch me slipping would be the day that diaries could float, and it wouldn't be a hallucination. For all I know, they could start thinking that I was dumb, that I was not bright, not talented, or worst of all, average. For these reasons alone, I forbid myself from any errors, from disclosing any information that even slightly chipped the image others had of me, and from showing weakness. Weakness, akin to vulnerability and an enemy of the state. How could I possibly be perceived as a powerhouse if I were to show weakness? That's just ludicrous, asinine, farcical even. You'll have to forgive me for all the big vocabulary. I'm practicing for the English World exams. But the fact of the matter is, I wanted to control my image as the best by having the best academic performance, by obtaining the highest positions, and all of this could only be done through separating myself from others, ultimately elevating my name in the end. Unfortunately, as seen throughout history, nothing ever goes as planned. This past school year has not only tested me as a student, but as a person. Now the pressure I've placed on myself had doubled. Instead of just being one of the top students in my class, I also needed to secure the best post-secondary institution, all in the name of legacy and honor. Because of this, I felt like I was constantly fighting to stay afloat in school. My stomach would sink upon seeing a single % drop. I stopped viewing assignments as ways to improve knowledge, but potential grade killers. It seemed like I was always making the wrong decisions, that others were doing better than me, and I've never experienced what it was like to be hit with disappointment after disappointment, no matter how much I tried, how much I studied, or how much I prepared. It was hopeless. I was hopeless. At my lowest moments, it was almost like I had lost myself, that I had lost my sense of identity. What was the point of bottling my feelings and maintaining this image of an all-arounder when it doesn't even come close to describing me? At times, I felt like I was being crushed by the weight of the world, forced to bear the burden all alone. But I wasn't alone. It was only when I put aside my own tragic flaw, my hamartia, if you will, that I could grow. When I could no longer hide my feelings, no longer put up the strong facade and maintain my image, I did what I hated the most: be vulnerable. In front of friends, in front of faculty, and while I didn't end up hallucinating any floating weapons, I instead was provided great wisdom and filled with feelings of comfort. I remember how my calculus teacher reminded me that I can't give 100% on every single task or assessment that comes my way. And he was right. I would treat everything like it was life or death, the determining factor for my future or the reason for my downfall. In response to me expressing my sentiments of the mistakes I made during application season, my French teacher emphasized that mistakes were a part of life and they're how we grow. And I'll never forget what it felt like to basically break down while experiencing the comfort of a friend. They may have not known the words to say, but their actions spoke for them. All these gestures may have been simple, and yet they hold so much meaning. I've been reminded that no one can do it all on their own, that it's important to have at least one person that can pull you out when you feel lost in the darkness. For too long, I've let my ego stand in the way of creating meaningful connections with those that care for me and vice versa. I wrongfully equated being weak with being vulnerable, as if vulnerability was something bad and needed to be avoided at all costs. But I'm glad that I've let people see a different side of me. I'm glad I let all of you see a different side of me. I'll never act like the process of opening up happens overnight. It doesn't. The initial feelings of embarrassment during vulnerable moments were, and still are, hard to shake, but I'm grateful they happened. Now I can confidently say that our strength doesn't come from perfection, but by having the courage and humility to reflect, communicate our feelings, and to ask for help when we know we need it, regardless of how it makes us look. The strength of vulnerability comes from the presence of beauty, authenticity, and connection. By allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, we reveal our true selves to the world. Our humanity, our imperfections, and our struggles become visible to those around us. And in doing so, we create the opportunity for others to do the same. Thank you.